you could see what I see, our communities in unity, no frustration from brutality, with our black nation a reality.
This is my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective, my perspective, it's my perspective.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the New African Perspective, the show that is dedicated to the liberation of new African people. I am your host, Brother Prophecy, and as always, man, I'm so fortunate, y'all, because not only do I have the opportunity to work right next to beautiful, intelligent, powerful, strong sisters that got my back and yours, but not only that, they're the president and vice president of the Republic of New Africa. They're none other than
Mama Ayo, Free the Land,
and Sister Sama.
No doubt. And we are part of something called the New African Independence Movement. That is where we strive and work to build an independent black sovereign nation of our own, something we can call our own. But I got a quick question. So we've all been on this journey for decades, not to age ourselves, but been quite some while. What's the first thing that kind of sparked your consciousness, to kind of open your eyes, spark that awareness that, something might not be right with this system, What's that?
I'm going to tell you, y'all, my grandmother always told me the truth. She was born in 1922, November the 2nd, 1922. So she lived through the Great Depression, segregation in St. Louis, Missouri. So she always told me the truth about society, and honestly, that's how I became aware of my environment. And my mother always, her daughter, told me the truth too. So I have to give the credit to them, honestly, because in their houses, I've listened to their stories in terms of my grandmother gonna call a cracker, right? Different literature that was in the house. I've always been exposed to, what the transatlantic slave trade looked like. And they weren't necessarily extra, black power this, blah, 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 but they told me the truth. So I was able to come to my own conclusions in terms of dealing with the world and society. And after that, I just followed my heart. Changed my diet, started going to a whole bunch of different lectures, because I was attracted to the truth, because that's what was fed to me, was the truth. So I only want the truth. So I wanted the truth in everything. I started diving into the truth for everything. Diet, live it, society, community, family, everything. That's pretty much how I got started.
Well, mine was a little bit different because I was the daughter of a military man, and I know that I experienced different realities being in the service. So I think the real big spark was just remembering certain things that happened when we came out from the Army. Once my dad retired, watching him go through PTSD, being told that we could not come to certain places, like a little mini golf. We were turned away, of course, because we at that time colored and Negro, and just knowing that you knew something was wrong but never could explain it. Your dad didn't tell you. And then basically I think the real spark, the real infusion was literally going to school in Illinois, Southern Illinois University, and being a part of the Black Student Union at that particular time. And the very first festival that we celebrated was Fred Hampton, Mark Clark, commemoration. And of course, just hearing a lot of speakers, a lot of lecturers, and that started my journey, and it's continued up until today.
Wow, that's inspiring. One was influenced by parents, and the other influenced by life experience. Mine. So I first started this journey probably when I was a teenager, because I was influenced by music. And back then, during that time period, it was like a lot of people like X-Clan, Poor Righteous Teacher, KRS-One, Public Enemy. These were the mainstream rappers. It wasn't like it was today where you heard a lot of trap music. You had rappers who actually were trying to raise the consciousness of the people. So that kind of sparked my interest. And from that, I started listening to people like Mr. Farrakhan. I started reading books from Malcolm X. Now, this is during my high school years. But what's crazy about that is, I thought that I was all pro-black. I was, the most pro-black person I knew because I'm from Holly Springs, Mississippi. It was kind of, different environment there. But when I went to college, and I went to college at the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, the whitest, most racist school in American history.
I see.
But that's really where I opened my eyes up, because my first day of class, I had this class called Western Civics. Western Civics, if you don't know what that is, that's basically the history of white folks, the history of white supremacy, the history of all that, because they started with the Greek society, which did everything and all of this, and go up to all, to the Anglo-Saxons, the Britons, and America. Excuse me. First day of class, I had a white professor by the name of Dr. King, ironically. He came in. And he said, basically, he told the truth. He said, actually, I don't even think a few years from now this class will even exist. Because what we're finding now, that Western civilization is a farce. It's not even true. We started the Greeks, but the Greeks, their information was started by the Egyptians. They learned what they learned from the Egyptians. And he just started breaking down how the falsehoods of white supremacy and white society was. Now, I had always studied this thing from my hometown, from Brothers in the Nation of Islam and other things. But I realized at that point, I really didn't believe him. Because when that white dude came in there, and he said what he said, and I was like, oh, snap, all them brothers from at home, they was right. You know what I'm saying? I got excited. And then I had to catch myself, because I was like, hold on. I've been knowing them brothers all my life. I know they're good brothers. I know they're intelligent brothers, and I know they care about me. But I never really did believe them. I liked what they said, but I didn't believe them. But I met this white dude, and within 1 second of me meeting him, I accepted everything he said. And I realized at that point, something was wrong with me. And that's when I really first started to deprogram myself and say, okay, I got to really find the truth. And this white supremacy thing is really deeper than I thought it was. So that's what laid me here. So,
Yes.
So, for everybody in the audience, in the comments, let us know. How did you get here? How did you get to the point where you're looking and watching the New African Perspective? Leave a comment. And if you have not joined our Facebook page, we have a Facebook page now. Just look up New African Perspective, our N.A.P.s, and join us, man,
Yes, please do. There's much more. There's much, much more.
Much more, much more. So, Sister Ma'at.
Yes.
Madam President Ma'at. What we got on tap for our show today?
Okay, so in the Black Power Files, we are going to celebrate and honor Fred Hampton Sr. and Mark Clark. Because we know the anniversary of their assassination was just the other day. So we want to make sure we honor. And there was one other thing that was mentioned that we want to talk about.
Well, we want to talk about what's coming forward. We also want to talk about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that's going to be celebrated December 10th. And how and why is that important for new Africans, for African peoples, not only at home from a nationalist perspective, but internationally? What that mean?
Yes, and then of course our main topic, we're going to talk about new African health.
That's good. That's very important, especially nowadays, because they got the new Omicron variant out, and it's going to get us all. Anyway.
I hope y'all not feeding into all of this. Please don't. Please don't. Chime into your own media. New African Perspectives being one of them. Chime into your own media.
Yeah, get proper education. Proper education eliminates fear. We fear because we don't really know what's going on, and it causes fear. But once you do research and you realize, okay, all right, that's what it is. This is what I need to be doing. This is how I can protect myself. Then there's no need to fear.
That's right. Tap into that God self.
Come on now,
family.
Exactly. So I guess we need to
kind of talk about some of the things that's been going on since we've last seen you. Kind of good news: the murderers of Ahmaud Arbery were found guilty.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
mean,
so
Justice.
you know, even your enemy does certain things to avoid certain things. Okay.
yeah, I mean, that was one of those cases where you just couldn't deny it. You know, it's like what I've learned about the system is if you give them any wiggle room to let them off, they'll do. It got to be something cut and dry, something like them filming themselves hunting a guy down and murdering them, where you just can't even make an excuse for it.
You understand?
But some interesting information has come to light about Gregory McMichael. He's the father who's the ex-police officer that murdered Ahmaud Arbery. Come find out that this guy retired as a disgraced police officer.
Really?
During his last 8 years of him being a police officer, he was stripped of the power to arrest people. So he couldn't even arrest people legally, even though I think he still was doing that. During his time, during those last 8 years, he was stripped of his badge and gun 11 times. 11 times. He was given desk duty 10 times. Finally, in 2019, he was stripped of his badge and gun for the final time, and which forced him into retirement because he was being too aggressive and unlawfully brandishing his weapon. So this guy was a serial brutalizer, serial offender.
Exactly.
You know, and what's interesting about this is every time you get a Mike Brown murdered, Tamir Rice murdered, whoever murdered, 12-year-old, 17-year-old child murdered by these white supremacists, the first thing that they do is they dig up any kind of dirt that they can find, whether it's a post they did 3 years ago or them doing anything negative, and they just paint us as being these evil, bad people, thugs, and all the things that they say. But you got this guy who has a long, well-documented history of abusing our people. And, I mean, they charged him guilty, but, I mean, what do y'all think about?
Not before they tried to cover it up as much as possible.
Exactly.
Trying to help him out one more time, because if he's been doing this for the past 8 years, that means there is what we call a paper trail on the offenses, on the people, what he did, especially if his badge was taken, he was put on desk duty. I mean, let's do the analysis. So this particular person is sitting at home after retirement and still exhibiting aggressive ways and means towards people that don't look like him, because obviously he was having some types of thoughts against black people.
Exactly.
The first thing that pops up in my mind, because it seems like every week we going through the same thing. We got to try these people. We in our own court and try them and have our own police force do what is necessary, because we can't. It's going to keep going on. They still going to keep playing, still keep manipulating the situation, still take care of their own, no matter what type of person they are. They be atrocious. We done seen them defend and protect atrocious. The founding fathers, the faces of the people that are so quote unquote founding fathers of this nation, that's on the money, were slave holders. And
Absolutely.
did every dirty little thing, like Mama Ayo always says. I love that phrase. Every dirty little thing. So we got to start trying our own. Trying our own, like in our own courts. And do we have to? Because it's always going to be this game. I'm tired of playing this game.
What's amazing to me, and I want all of us to think about it, no one's telling you not to be a police enforcement officer. Not to want to serve and defend. However, let's paint the scenario this way, that it was 3 black men chasing down a white boy and taping it. Now you and I know. What? How dare you? Y'all off in the roast real quick, fast, and in a hurry. As a matter of fact, I am sure there's an unwritten, unspoken rule. You better not shoot one of us, be it man, woman, or child.
So this shows how sick the minds are. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I think, I can't remember the exact case, but the first police officer who was ever charged and convicted of doing something wrong to, one of the citizens was a black police officer who did something to a white woman. Yeah.
What year was that? You remember?
I don't know. This just popped in my head because of something.
Absolutely. Because that's the unwritten law, unwritten rule. That's part of those slave codes that we've carried on into the modern day. Legal and just so-called justice system. It's just all right just for them and against us.
And I do want everybody to remember that the slave catchers transformed into your modern day police forces in all of the different cities. It's the same origin. So that's what they're supposed to do.
And if you think we just making up something, I got another story for you.
Yes, please.
So in 2017, there was this protest in St. Louis. Oh, I can't remember, but it was because of a black man who was murdered by the police. The police got off, and there was a protest going on. Now, it was a black man who was actually a police officer who went undercover in the protest, who was filming the protest. I guess spying on everybody. Shame on you. But while he was in the protest, doing what he was doing, working for the police department, his fellow co-workers of the white police officer came and whooped his ass, beat him bad, gave him permanent injuries.
Now, see, that's why you can't be a traitor. Okay. Go ahead.
Now, of course, they didn't realize he was a police officer. He just was another black dude. And just in case you're just wondering if they were just out trying to get the protesters who were protesting them, this undercover cop, black guy by the name of Luther Hall, was with another undercover cop that happened to be white, and nothing happened to him. Nothing at all. He was just a witness, I guess. But just recently, a couple of weeks ago, one of the police officers, Dustin Boone, 38-year-old, was actually sentenced for this crime, and I'll get into what he got in a minute. But after they beat this brother, this guy Dustin Boone actually FaceTimed his girlfriend and showed him their handiwork. Said, "Oh, look what I did," bragged on it. His girlfriend actually texted her. They have the text saying, "Whoa, that was so cool. Beating this black dude was so cool." Now, of course, they didn't know he was a police officer. After he found out the police officer, he texted back and said, "Hey, don't let nobody see that. I'm not proud of that." But yeah, that's what he did. But let's get into what these police officers, because there were several police officers who beat this brother because they were actually bragging about doing this before the protest. But it's a guy by the name of Randy Hayes. Now this guy was responsible for most of his injuries. He beat this brother with a baton over and over again, and they cracked his phone and they took the SIMS card out and they basically tried to cover it up. But this guy, Randy Hayes, the prosecutor suggested that you give him 10 years. He said you need to give him 10 years. But no, they gave him 4 years. Another guy by the name of Bailey Carletto. Now this guy actually covered up. People want to call me. Ain't nothing but bill collectors. He actually covered up evidence. And this guy received 3 months probation. 3 months probation. But he did serve some prison time. He actually served 2 consecutive weekends. So he lost his weekends for, two of his weekends out of 1 month. And that was it. I mean, the doggone National Guard get to serve more than that, and they're weekend warriors. So back to Dustin Boone. Now, the prosecutor also suggested this guy get 10 years because they're trying to deter this behavior, trying to send a message, say they can't do this anymore. Now his lawyer said, "No, you don't need to give him 10 years. Give him 2 years. That's fair. Give him 2 years." Can y'all guess how many years he got? You know, which one? Did he get 2 years or did he get 10 years? You probably already figured it out. He got 2 years, and you'll be wrong because he got 1 year and 1 day. Got less time than his doggone lawyer was asking for. I mean, for real?
Again, we talk about the justice system. If that had been a black man, black woman, there you were going to get the full book thrown at you, because as we've been saying, the time does not fit the crime. There is not going to be a weekend going to no prison and coming out, a reduction of anything, even if you were just standing in the crowd and witnessed a murder and they felt that you were part of it. You're getting ready to go down for years, consecutive terms. So I'm asking you again, is the justice system just?
And just to go a couple steps further into it, remember the correlation between the slave catchers. The slave catchers brought you back to the plantation so you can continue work, so you can keep the process of capitalism going, right?
Exactly.
That's what the prison industrial system is for. Exactly. Free labor, or very extremely cheap labor. Industry relies on the prison industrial system. Again. Capitalism relies on that. This is people that invest in the prison systems become billionaires. They don't care about you and I's justice. They care about that money. They care about capitalism. They care about upholding this particular system. They could care less about you and the family that they're ruining.
Exactly.
I mean, every week is story after story after story. Man, it's crazy. Leave a comment. What do y'all think? You know what I'm saying? We probably have a segment where we just read kind of y'all comments to see, because this is the New African perspective, but it's not Saz Ayodele and Prophecy's perspective. It's the New African, and we all New African. So we want to hear from you. So, write a comment and, join our Facebook page, and we want to hear from you. So we got a cadre corner coming up. I'm sorry we laughing because this is production and y'all just missed out on some stuff that just happened. You know what I'm saying? But that's okay because we're professional. We have a cadre corner coming up. What we got for our cadre corner?
Well, today we're going to be talking about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that will be celebrated on December the 10th. The 73rd year, y'all, of human rights approved and bona fide certified by the entire world, the United Nations.
No doubt. Coming up right after this. Free the land.
I will.
Imagine your life with no drama. You live with no trauma. Your chest got more cum. Live in our own. We all know the problems. We can see them. We can feel them. They're all around us. But aren't you tired of just talking about the problem? Let's talk about the solution.
Free the land. Join us for New African Nation Day 54, March 25th through 27th, 2022 in Birmingham, Alabama. Free the land. Study the writings, speeches, documents of our freedom fighters in order to free our neo-colonialized minds. This is the Cadre Corner. Free the land. Well, today we want to talk about a very important document that has a lot to do with what is going on in the past, in the present, and what will be happening in the future. I want to let everyone know that December 10th, 2020 is the anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was signed December 10th, 1948, after World War II, after the great Holocaust that occurred in Germany and across Europe of the Jews in Europe, most of them the Shepherdie Jews, the Ashkenazi Jews, and some Africans, as well as some gypsies at that time. So that Universal Declaration was signed in Paris. It had approximately 50 nations across the world, and they declared at that time that man's inhumanity to man is, of course, out of order. It is totally terrible because of what happened, mainly to the 6 million Jews that were incarcerated and eliminated during that time across Europe. So it comes with a preamble and 30 articles that was signed during that time. And of course, former President Roosevelt's wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, was very instrumental in coming to the table and helping to draft this declaration at the time. And the reason why we are focusing on this today is because we need new Africans, the indigenous, new African independence movement family, to think about it. Here we are, 73 years later. We have 30 points in this Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And I want to know, have African people here in America, Europe, Caribbean, Africa, have we been compensated? Have we been acknowledged as one of the worst holocausts of human history, the Great Ma'afa? And so that question comes up, and it has been since the time we were first stolen away, and which we know the first recordings were the Portuguese, the Spanish, the English, the French, the Swedes, so on and so on and so on. And we want to know what has been done to redress the wrongs that have occurred. According to the Declaration of Human Rights, the very first point is all human beings born free and equal have the right to dignity and rights. They're born free. Well, we know for at least 357 years that it has not happened to African people here in America, new Africans. That did not happen. It did not happen in some places like Brazil. It didn't happen in Trinidad, Tobago, French and British Guyana, Barbados, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. Do I need to go on and on and on? We know that point number 4 says, no one shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all their forms. So when we look at these particular points, and there's others, the right to education, the right to family, the right to culture, and it goes on and on and on for 30 points, that no one has the right to change those things. We have to look and analyze, well, isn't that what happened? Isn't that what is happening on all levels of what we are doing? So as we look at this particular 73 years on December 10th, we also want you to think about all of the leaders who have been fighting against that. I want you to look up the International Decade of the African, which ends in 2024. Why do we feel this push and this need to be talking more and more and more about reparations, repatriation, compensation, sovereignty as far as the New African, the Republic of New Africa is concerned? Because this is that time. This is this time that we must address the wrongs that were done to us in the past and what is going to be done in the future as a nation. Do we feel that we are deserving? Do we feel that this is a just call that you owe us? We built this country. You built almost every institution off the blood and backs of our ancestors. So we want to remind you, 1920, August 13th, there was a Universal Declaration of Negro Rights. I need everybody, look it up and read it, because when I say that is a very strong document. We also have Paul Robeson and his friend William Patterson in December 17th, 1951, who went to the UN and turned in a document called We Charge Genocide. There's lots, and even more organizations are on this particular path. So Are we owed reparations? Yes. Are we human beings? We are. We are Homo sapiens sapiens. We came to the planet upright and with our minds. Do we have a case charging genocide, charging the great Ma'afa? Yes, we do. And that is our truth.
And that's the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Yes.
Extremely important document because, like Malcolm said, Malcolm told us that we should stop trying to struggle for civil rights. We should struggle for human rights because these are the rights that was given to us by birth. Not even given to us. We were born with these rights, and there's a lot of important things in that document. One of the things that I don't know if you mentioned or not, but it says every human being has a right to a nationality.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And that's something that we lost. One of the things that they don't talk about that we lost during this great Ma'afa, as you put it, this enslavement, this under this system of chattel slavery. We lost our nationality. And that's what we are reclaiming here when we say we are new Africans.
It's quite simple. That's basic. That's a basic thing. That's our human right, our birthright. We are fighting for just our birthright that has been ripped and raped and taken away from us.
Yes.
It's a righteous movement. It's a very righteous movement.
And we're standing firm because the biggest thing for me, comrades, is that we have the right to our own spirituality. We have a right to our own educational system. We have a right to our own culture. We realize as New Africans that we're just carbon copies of a Eurocentric culture, and we're trying to purge ourselves from some of the ills and the misconceptions of a Eurocentric culture and be able to reclaim our Africanness. Now, will we be able to claim all the languages, all the nuances of engagement, birth, death? No, but it's something that we will be recreating or remembering in our quest to become a new African society, a new African territory, and we have that human right. And that's the one thing that we have to be ever aware of. When we do gather, just like Garvey gathered in 1920 to hold a plebiscite and to put out their declarations that we determine ourselves to be a free people and everything that happened, we will be doing that as well. We will be calling out a plebiscite for the people to vote. Do you want a sovereign nation? And we have that right.
Definitely. And the beautiful thing about, our movement where we're talking about reclaiming our African culture, our African heritage. And I like that word, that phrase you said, we're carbon copies of a Eurocentric culture. That is so true. But the beautiful thing about what we're doing is, we have the opportunity to take the best of Africa. You know what I'm saying? The best of the culture, the best of the tradition, the best of our belief system, and put it all together in a culture that will work for us to benefit us. And speaking of things that will benefit us in this European carbon copy of a culture that is not benefiting us, the European diet in which we indulge in America is something that is definitely not working for us. Which leads us to our main topic, health. New African health.
New African health.
And I know y'all got a lot to say about this. Health and wellness.
New African health.
So I'm just leave it right there and just turn it over to the health experts.
The first and foremost thing that you need to comprehend about New African health is it does not just deal with the physical health. It deals with physical, mental, spiritual, psychological, emotional, social, economic. And we keep going on and on and on. Because any dis-ease or any blockage in any of them areas is going to affect your overall well-being.
Yes.
Right? So when we talk about health, we are most definitely discussing it on a holistic level. You can eat all the right food that you want to, right? And it does assist in all the different areas. It helps clear your thinking. You treat other people with more love and respect when you eat from the earth. These things are true. Yet, we got a lot to recover from because our minds Our minds are thinking. We don't think like how we as new African people, as African people, as indigenous people should be thinking, right? Like what was it called? The European what?
Eurocentric.
The Eurocentric.
Carbon copy of a Eurocentric culture.
We don't want to be carbon copies of a Eurocentric culture, European culture. We don't want that. We're saying we want to do away with that. So that means that we have to be extremely honest with ourselves. There's a lot of shedding, and there's a lot of healing, emotional healing, trauma, baggage from trauma, generational curses. And I do want to applaud the many new African people that I am seeing these days, really, really, really striving to do that work.
Digging in.
They're digging in, and it lets me know that all the work that all of our ancestors has been doing, all of our scholars have been doing, all of our health and wellness scholars, Dr. Sabi, Dr. Africa, Queen Afua, all of these different people, and the list go on, right, have been doing for decades, has really been paying off. Especially with the information age, I'm seeing people go in. I'm seeing raw foodists. I'm talking about black people at mass levels, young and old. Like, so I want to applaud us because I'm seeing some effort out here.
Exactly.
Like, the work is not being in vain. Yes. Yet, do know that it is highly important for us to stay connected with the earth, stay connected with nature, eat from nature, live from nature. Apply universal law and order principles, standing on principles of righteousness and truth, and dealing with each other with integrity, right? Dealing with each other in love. We have to create healthy environments, which stems from healthy relationships, which stems from healthy thoughts about ourselves. Absolutely. You know? Because when we don't love ourselves, that's when we lash out. And that's when we get attitudes. And then we creating an environment that's not well. Right? So we got to analyze all of these things and be extremely honest with ourselves in all of these different arenas.
I'm definitely in agreement with what we consider to be some of the policies of the Ministry of Health and Society under the Provisional Government of the Republic of New Africa. We talk about making sure that you fortify yourself, making sure that you build your immune system, and all the things that Sister Saw is talking about, trying to make sure that you are in tune with those vibrational shifts, because one thing that we believe in is we believe in the spirituality, humanity, and genius of black people, and in our renewed pursuit of these values. So when we talk about having to be dependent on a system that has mass-produced foods, vitamins, water, juice, milk, etc., you have to be a little bit discerning. And I believe because of the melanin that we have the capabilities, new Africans, let me say it again, because of the melanin in us, we have the capability to transform our genetics. If you do the right thing, if we become more plant-based, we are being in tune with, of course, meditation, air, breath, intent, as Sister Saw was saying, that heart, making sure that heart chakra is open for yourself, making sure that you deal with those traumas. There is a new term that I've been hearing lately called epigenetics. We call that post-traumatic slave syndrome. Now all of a sudden, the so-called expert talking about epigenetics, that's bunk. What we're saying is that because of that post-traumatic stress syndrome, what we're going to call slave syndrome, we have brought traumas from generation upon generation that have been what you call, when you mate with somebody, that doesn't go away. That doesn't go away because the spirit and the life of who we are. Remember, we are our ancestors. Our children will be us in many ways and forms. And this is this time where we want to transmute and transform the dynamics by doing better with ourselves, loving more on ourselves and opening us up for what we call the universal law, and knowing that we stand on righteousness. We're going to reverse eating trends, drinking trends, music trends for redemption's sake. We're about redemption. This is about redemption, the health, to redeem yourself, to redeem the community, to redeem the family, redeem the culture. And that's health and wellness. That's health and wellness.
Y'all just said a whole lot. A whole lot. A lot of good stuff. Oh, man. Well, I want to start.
This is our favorite subject.
I know. Something about epigenetics. It's something important to understand, because a lot of times people use different sciences for different reasons. You know what I'm saying? I always like to look at what's the original intent. What is it supposed to be? Because epic means like on top of genetics. Right. So like you correctly said, it's trauma, because like if you actually study epigenetics, you find that your DNA can be altered by trauma. Things that happen to you, at birth can change your very genetic makeup. And you gotta look at we've suffered over 400 years of trauma on top of trauma, and we're still suffering from trauma. Just last night we suffered from more trauma. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta look at these type of things when you're dealing with health.
Yes.
Something beautiful y'all said. Yes. When you look at it coming from an African-centered perspective, we have to be holistic about our health. There's some people who will say, well, this runs in my family. This diabetes runs in my high blood pressure, overweight runs in my family, which can be true. You know what I'm saying? Because your genetics are a part of your health. There's an important part of your health, but it's not all. You know what I'm saying? You just because something runs in your family doesn't mean you have to get it. Your diet is extremely important to your health. A lot of people don't even. I've talked to somebody and I told them, they asked, "Why do you eat that way?" I was like, "For health reason." They thought that I was like plant based because I cared about the animals. Animals I ate, but if it came down to my life and their life, they gotta get it. But since I got this choice, I ain't in that situation. I'm preferring not to. I'm being plant based. And they were saying, "Well, you mean you eating?" Your diet has something to do with your health, and they was just, confused at the fact that I said I'm eating a certain way for health. So your health has your diet is an important part of it, but that's not all. Your stress level, stress will kill you, y'all. Stress will kill you, and look at how much stress that our people are constantly under from all sides. We getting stressed from external factors to the internal factors to the people that we love, because we don't know how to relate to each other, because we are carbon copies of a Eurocentric culture.
Yes.
But that's not even only that. Our environment.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because like just recently we had this big thing in Memphis where we trying to stop them from bringing a oil pipeline through a black community that's already suffered tons and tons of environmental racism, dumping chemicals in the area. All of this stuff plays a factor. They were telling these people, well, you're just sick because you're eating wrong. Are you just sick because it run in your blood? No, they getting sick because y'all dumping chemicals in their water supply.
Exactly.
All of these things play a part. So being holistic is extremely important. It is extremely important. You can't look at like, well, I eat right, so I'm good, and you're bad because you got sick. No, we don't do that. It's because everything connects. Like you always say, everything connects, yes. And we got to treat the whole thing, not just one part, and say we're good.
Exactly, and it's in the body, the whole body. When we say our whole self, our whole condition is extremely sensitive to the slightest thing. That's why we have to be very intentional with our thoughts. We got to be very intentional with our words, and very intentional coming from good intent, a good intention from our heart as we're dealing daily. It's very sensitive. It's the how Mama I always says, modern day lynchings is happening all the time on every single level. Yes. But right where it used to be overt, yes. Right? Where it used to be a big old thing, the whole world see. Right now it's extremely covert. It's hidden in every aspect of our culture, every aspect of our society. It's hidden, and we're going through these things. So the slightest thing that we do can offset. Don't think that, oh, I said that, oh, that don't matter. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Everything you do creates a ripple effect. So we can't be selfish when we're talking about we want to heal. No, everything that we do affects our environment. It affects the people around us. And so we got to be very conscious in terms of the decisions that we make. We want to make sure that the decisions that we make are extremely healthy, not only for ourselves, but for our families, for our community, for our nation, and our race in general.
Absolutely. And when you talk about that, we're talking about making sure that your words are prayers, making sure that your words have good intentions, because we are vibrational, whether we understand it or not. That's why we're being manipulated through sound, vibration, and light, because we are a vibrational people. That's what melanin does for us. So we have to be real protective of our auras, protective of that, and make sure that your words speak love and light. Try to become more optimistic, but be realistic in your assessment of what is going on, and be able to say, that's not good for me. That's not good for my family. That's not good for my community. That's not good for my children. So I have to be able to shift a little bit. And that everybody's journey is individual, and yet it is collective. Because collectively we go to certain grocery stores. Collectively we go through certain stores. Collectively we listen to certain musics. We have to ask ourselves, is that what we want? Is that what we see as a new African community that's protecting the children, loving on our women, being respectful of our women, making sure that our men know exactly that they have to be around, they have to be healthy, because they are expected to help us bring forth these geniuses, these children, these brilliant ones that have to take over our struggle. And they have to be healthy. They have to be potent. They have to be aware, because they are the defenders and the protectors of women, children, and the elders. That's what we're talking about.
Man, extremely important information, especially in today's time where everything is political and everything is used to push a political agenda, even if it's a dis-ease, even if whatever it is. So it's hard to get good information, good, knowing, a lot of people just confused. They don't know what to do, but taking care of yourself, mind, body, and soul, you can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong. That's something you should know for sure. Regardless to what's going on, whether it's the alpha, the beta, the delta, or the omicron, regardless to what variant is out, you can't go wrong by taking care of yourself.
Please do.
Yes,
that is our prayer for the race, for our people.
I mean, the ancients say, know thyself, heal thyself, taking care of yourself. It always starts with the self, and then it
trickles out. Because if you're not healthy, your children are not going to be healthy.
Exactly. You'll be surprised at how, if you just took it into your hands and say, okay, I'm going to focus on one good habit, just one good habit. I'm exercise, or I'm gonna eat better. Just focus on that. Like that. Don't focus on everything, but focus on that one thing. You'll be surprised at how it affects other areas of your life.
Yes.
You start feeling better, and you start wanting to do other things better. You eat better, then you might start wanting to work out better. You want to start treating your mate and your children better. You'll be happier. You'll have a more positive attitude. And all of these things are connected, and hey, we can go on with this all day.
I'm just doing my thing, trying to live stress-free. Shaking all them haters off, they be trying to test me. I ain't front, y'all, I'm just trying to be the best me. Trying to make the world better, but hey, that's just me. I ain't really got time to hate the next man, cause negative people make you feel less.
Europeans murdered 98% of the indigenous population right here in Turtle Island in order to steal the land. An entire nation of African people were captured and forced into a brutal system of chattel slavery just so they could work and cultivate the land. All wars are fought over land, not over terrorism, not over religion, not even to win the hearts and minds of the people, but for the actual land and the resources within the land. So it is safe to say that land is the foundation to all freedom. So if we truly want to be free, then our struggle is for land. Free the land. Leaders, scholars, freedom fighters, all those soldiers who've been struggling for the liberation of black people. This is the Black Power 5.
We always say in the Black Panther Party that they can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that. You're going to have to say that I am a proletarian. I am the people. I'm not the pig. You've got to make a distinction. And the people are going to have to attack the pigs. The people are going to have to stand up against the pigs. That's what the Panthers are doing. That's what the Panthers are doing all over the world.
Fred. Those were some powerful words from our comrade and our freedom fighter and now our ancestor, the great Fred Hampton. Let me say this right. Chairman Fred Hampton Sr., because I know his wife and I know his son. And if you ever know him, they always correct you. No, Chairman Fred. They always make sure you put that chairman in front of that. Oh, man. Brilliant brother. And unfortunately, met his demise at the hands of COINTELPRO. Not only him, but Mark Clark. We can't forget about Deputy Minister Mark Clark, who was assassinated December 4th, just had an anniversary a couple of days ago. So what do y'all think about these great freedom fighters?
It's always difficult to remember that we were just exercising our human rights during that time. We're talking about, the assassination of many Panthers, assassination of Malcolm, coming on down to the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., coming on down to Chairman Fred Hampton and Mark Clark, and it just goes on. And not just here in America, but all the assassinations and coups that were actually being led by COINTELPRO, FBI, all of the agencies of the so-called Big Six to make sure that African liberation, the redemption of Africa, does not occur. And so you have a setup of where they had a person who was literally a traitor to the race provide information, and they were attacked before dawn. We call that a preemptive strike. They were gunned down. They had plainclothesmen that came into an apartment in Chicago, Illinois. And from some of the accounts, 14 plainclothesmen, burst the door down. They were sleeping and just started firing. There were, Chairman Fred Hampton, Mark Clark and his fiance at the time, and of course Mark Clark and two other brothers that were severely wounded but not murdered. And of course ended up with Mark Clark being shot in the heart and Chairman Fred, of course, being assassinated. Thank goodness that nothing happened to the Queen. But still, the fact is information was being fed from internal sources. I believe the young man's name, or the man's name was
William O'Neill.
Oh, yes,
William
O'Neill. And he fed that information to the person who called the strike. It wasn't really the FBI, but although it was the FBI, it was COINTELPRO during that time. And based on the information, they made that strike. And it resulted in They did a lot of investigation. They put out a lot of false information during that time. However, they found out that 90% of the bullets, in fact, only 2 bullets, came from the Black Panthers at that time. All the rest of those 100 bullets that were fired off into the door, every place else belonged to the police.
And if you look at the work that Chairman Fred and the rest of the party were doing at that time was extremely diligent That's the best word that I can come up with, because they were having political science classes at 6 a.m. in the morning.
Exactly.
That's the level of dedication they had to our liberation as African people. And after all of that, with all the setup and everything, this was called by our quote unquote justice system a justifiable homicide.
Absolutely.
Justifiable. So they didn't even initially charge anybody with anything, because this is what the police department and the FBI wanted to take place, because they don't want you to be free in the land of the free,
in the home of the brave.
That's a little bit about like William O'Neill, in which the movie Judas and the Black Messiah was based on. William O'Neill is well documented that he's the one that gave the floor plan of the home house, of the Panther House in Chicago. And he actually had his Fred Hampton's room marked down to where it's going to be a drink can on the television. That's how detailed it was. And if you ask his wife, his widow, and his son, they will tell you that Chairman Fred was poisoned. Mm-hmm. You know, they gave him what he liked, his favorite flavor Kool-Aid. They call it revolutionary raspberry. Mm-hmm. He because Fred Hampton was murdered in his sleep.
Exactly.
He was asleep, y'all. They stood over him and they shot him point blank range and made sure he's dead. Matter of fact, after he shot him, he was still alive. And you can look this up in the internet. You know, in the interviews they told it that he was alive, and the police were saying, "Oh, he'll make it. He might make it." And then they shot him point blank in the head and said, "Oh no, he's good and dead now." And even to modern, recent times, I don't know if they still do it, but I know it was a Chicago PD tradition that every December 4th they would go to the grave site of Fred Hampton Sr. and they'll shoot it up. You can look at his tombstone now; it's riddled with bullets.
That's right.
Now, I mean, you brutally murdered this brother, and now you want to celebrate by shooting up his grave, his tombstone. But you got to understand why they did that. Because this brother was just like 20 years old. Mm-hmm. And this brother was probably, J. Edgar Hoover would say, "Oh, watch out for that Black Messiah." Exactly. Well, that's the guy type of brother you got to look out for. Because like he was at 20 years old and he was able to unite everybody against this system of oppression. Mm-hmm. And he ain't talking about like Martin Luther King uniting everybody so we can sit in the same toilets. No, we unite people to go to war with this system of oppression. Not only just uniting black people, he was uniting the Latino community, Latinx community, the even poor white people. He was uniting everybody. And it wasn't no plaything. You heard of the Rainbow Coalition with Jesse Jackson. The original Rainbow Coalition was with Fred Hampton Sr.
Exactly.
And they wasn't on no we trying to get along type stuff. No, we trying to change this system. Trying to change this injustice system, this system of white supremacy, and this system of capitalism.
Exactly.
Because they understood the contradictions of the economic system very well.
Exactly. At that time, they said the FBI's modus operandi, of course, under J. Edgar Hoover and the COINTELPRO, was to use aggressive and imaginary tactics to prevent the rise of a Messiah who could unify and electrify the black community. Mm-hmm. And it says that he became chairman of the Black Panther Party at 20 years old. There was a lawsuit filed in 1983, and hopefully the family received some type of justice.
Yeah, they received a little bit of compensation.
Yes,
it wasn't,
exactly.
Wasn't nearly as. First of all, you can't pay for what they done. There's no monetary value that you can ever receive that will pay for what they did. You know what I'm saying? They can't pay us enough reparations. So, know, they got a little something, okay, yeah. But wasn't nearly enough.
It wasn't nearly enough at all.
Never is.
And the thing, that brother was powerful. And it still is powerful because we can still listen to his speeches today. Exactly. He was able to, with his words, unite people, gave them justification, gave them proof, gave them love in word. Look, this is what we need to do. He had the power of communication.
Exactly. And
that
that's
he
what
was
we call
able
a cadre.
to do that. Yes.
That's cadre status.
Exactly. So, man, I think we did it again, y'all. You know what I'm saying? It's like every week we just, put out these dynamic shows, And I think we got a lot of great things in store for the future. It's only gonna get bigger. So join the Facebook page. And we'll see you next week. Absolutely. I am Brother Prophecy for Madam President and Madam Vice President Sama Ott and Ayo Deli. Just remember, you have to keep on saying to yourself, I am not the pig. In the words of the great revolutionary Fred Hampton, I am a revolutionary. Free the land, y'all.
I will.
By any and all means necessary.